Hello, everybody.
Hey, everyone. Are we ready to go? So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the AMA with Joe and myself. I'm the CEO of UREEQA, Kirk Fergusson. Joe, I was wondering if you'd like to introduce yourself, talk a little bit about yourself, then I'll do the same.
Sure. I'm Joe Pillitteri. I'm CEO here at the UREEQA. I work with the dev teams and the operational teams to drive the organization forward. I'm multifaceted.
And where Joe focuses on building all the cool things that we come up with at UREEQA. I lead our external efforts, marketing, business development, sales, partnerships, that kind of work. Also with the investment community, so I'm very involved in that. My background is basically started my career eons ago, working in the government, but eventually about 25 years ago, transitioned to the software business. Have been working in Canadian innovative technology companies since that time. Most of my work has been in the areas of marketing and business development, and joined UREEQA last fall, I believe it was. It seems like time has flown by very quickly. But since coming on board, done some really interesting work that we'll talk a little bit about today, and certainly happy to answer any questions people might have. Just looking at the stream, it looks like we're waiting for some folks to join us. We'll start seeing questions pop up, I'm sure, on the YouTube channel shortly. Maybe in the interim, what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about UREEQA's focus. You know, since I came to the company in the fall, we've done quite a bit of work around trying to figure out exactly where UREEQA, I think, can focus, where UREEQA should be putting some of its efforts and its prioritization. Because when you look at our platform under the covers, it really is a platform that has broad application. And to some degree, it's a good thing, but it's also a challenge. As a company, we can support creators from all walks of life around the world, people that are songwriters, people that are musicians, people that are graphic designers, working in the visual arts, sculptors, playwrights, novelists, you name it. And, you know, I think for us as a company, it was really about trying to understand the capabilities that we were offering and to start refining some of our focus so that we, you know, weren't spread too thin, but also that we had identified areas that we could get traction, and really trying to make an impact on the ability for creators to protect their creations in a more fulsome manner. And I suspect that's what a lot of folks are probably looking to learn from us today. So that'll be an area that we talk a little bit about in a few minutes. Okay, it looks like we've got some more folks joining us. With that, I'll maybe take the baton and talk a little bit more about some of the areas we're seeing some early traction. Clearly, you know, we've done an AMA with Scott and Ed that talked about the music business, so I won't go into too much detail about that. But it's going very well, and I think those two gentlemen, having the expertise they have, are going to lead us in the right spots and help us grow that business over the coming year, which is, you know, so far early success, early results look very promising. So that's a good thing. On the copyright side of things, you know, one of the areas that I think we've latched on to that's quite interesting is this notion of being able to help creators be able to take advantage of the blockchain and the platform we built to claim or stake a claim to copyright using the technology we've built. And it's very quick, it's very relatively effortless. And in a couple of minutes, you can stake your claim to the blockchain through our batch timestamp solution. What's neat about that, though, is when you look at how creators make things today, or make things generally, it's done in iterations. It's not, you don't sit down at a typewriter or a computer and type out a novel in your first sitting. And so what this does is allows creators to upload copyright claims as they develop their content. It's relatively quick, it doesn't cost anything. And so it's a really great way to capture copyright as you develop things. And that way, if you're sharing iterations, you're sharing early drafts, you're sharing, if you're a script writer and you're sharing iterations of a script with people, you're collaborating with people, you know you've got some degree of protection, which you wouldn't necessarily have. And certainly no copyright organization in the world is doing that. Then when you finish all of that great work and you've got a finished script or a finished book or a finished painting or a finished song, you can upload all of that through our creative rights registration, which again is relatively inexpensive and quickly can be done very quickly, especially if you've done all the batch timestamps along the way. Then it's just about pulling it all together in one single claim. That too is also innovative and taking advantage of the blockchain and the immutable, highly secure blockchain components that are out there. How do you plan to ensure that UREEQA benefits both itself as a company and its current UREEQA token holders? So, you know, I've been asked this question a lot since I joined the company, and I think everyone here has, you know, continued to get this question. I think for a lot of us, you know, we're really being focused on trying to make sure the business is in fact, you know, building something real, delivering real benefits, and engaged with creators in a concrete way that helps them protect their creations. The more of that we do, the more we feel we are delivering real value to creators and to creators through partners that work with them, the more we think the token will have value. And clearly as a business, you know, wherever we strike deals, we try to think about how we can bring more value back to the token holder, more utility to the token holder community. Joe, I think, you know, we've talked, I think, about doing that, you know, recently with the UGC, and I believe we've got a couple of things coming up this spring that will allow people to see concretely how we're benefiting the token holders. But it's not, I guess what I would say is it's not going as fast as we'd like. We'd like to see more done. And as we start turning on more work with clients, that gives us more opportunities to actually bring more back to the token holders. And that's certainly our intent over this coming year. Did you want to comment on that as well, Joe?
I live in Hooterville, so I don't always have good connections. So I lost you guys again.
Hey, you're still on.
Okay, I'm good. That's great. So yeah, I believe that, you know, and I've again, like Kirk, I've expressed this a number of times throughout some of our TG channels and other platforms. We've been very, very focused on our mission and our vision, and we have continued to work building out the technical components that are needed to sustain us as an organization. And we have not lost sight of our token holders, but we have got to put them the right priority. And it doesn't mean one or the other. It's about, we can do something. So we've got something like staking pools coming up that will help us allow token holders to grow their investment. And those will be announced by Shannon later in the week. We do have other, we have some other music opportunities that Scott is bringing in, and those will start to drop over the next several weeks and months. I often get a question, why are we not buying back our tokens aggressively and trying to push the price? Absolutely understand that strategy as an organization. Again, it's a balance of available cash to do that with. I can't abandon the operational side of the business to put everything into that because there'll be nothing left. But we are, we're working towards, Kirk can talk about this himself later, but we are working towards, we're in a funding round right now, and that will actually help us do some more of that token utility and token underpinning.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. And I think, I think for us, it's really a question, as Joe said, about balance. Every startup goes through this challenge. If folks know anybody running a startup, they'll have heard a lot of this stuff before, where you've got to sort of look at how do we build something concrete, how do we deliver real value, and this year is really about demonstrating product market fit. And so the good news is we're getting good traction with some of the products that we're putting out there, and I think where we've seen some really cool uptake, and it's early days. So Tor is looking for some sneak peeks. This isn't a secret. We launched or helped launch a platform yesterday, an NFT collection called Venusverse. And Venusverse was the first NFT collection to use our validation service as a collection. So a lot of validations being done to help that collection be able to say with confidence to the people looking to buy those NFTs that these are legitimate elements, these are legitimate components, these are legitimate NFTs that you're purchasing. And I think that's in response to the fact that there's so much fraud on some of the marketplaces that the creators now are taking taking the bull by the horns and starting to look at validation themselves as a way of putting some integrity into the collection that they're putting into the marketplace. They're doing it ahead or almost apart from the NFT marketplaces because they're not seeing the marketplaces necessarily do much more themselves. And so that collection has sort of rolled out the door. It features a provenance page, which we put together and has a lot of the core data that we collect during the validation process integrated into that. And that's a really interesting model. And to be honest with you, the first collection to put that out into the marketplace was a collection called World of Women. And when that went out, we thought, that's pretty interesting, but we improved on that. And so if you look at the user interface, the user experience, the data, the details, the way it's laid out, it's obviously an improvement over what World of Women did. But World of Women was, to their credit, the first major collection to feature a provenance page, and we thought that was a great idea. And now we've seen other creators of collections latch on to that. And in fact, we're having some more conversations with additional creators of collections about the exact same thing. So you'll see a bunch more coming down the road with the UREEQA validation inside. And I think that's super exciting. It starts moving us towards that higher watermark and really giving people a sense of the gold standard that UREEQA is built, and that comes with our validation process.
I just want to add a little bit there, Kirk. I mean, one of the questions we do get a lot in the last few weeks has been, what are we doing about taking advantage of our technology in the space there where there is a lot of fraud and other things. We're boldly stating we want to be the de facto NFT validation service globally. And we're talking to some global players right now that are actually listening to that. And as Kirk said, we're getting really good traction in the collection space. So that's one of our 4 pillars: validation as a service, and we think that we've launched there. As you know, we've got some good traction going in the music space right now as well. Tori, you were looking for a sneak peek, a little hint. Pay attention to Twitter. Our partners with Venusverse and UREEQA, we will probably have something up on Twitter you want to pay attention to later in the day. Kirk, back to you.
Yeah, so folks asked about other areas that we're investigating. There's some really cool stuff coming down the pipe that we think has a lot of potential, but we're still in the early days, so I can't give too many details about it. But people are looking at the validation process that we've created, and they see the value of it and the fact that it is robust and it is thorough, and it's very different than the validation that's in this space, generally speaking. There's validation and validation, type of thing. And so where I think we're starting to see folks outside the technology space, even outside the NFT arena, start to look at us and ask us, hey, could we got insurance companies, for example, want to build an insurance product for NFTs potentially. But the challenge with that is, what are you insuring? How do you have confidence that what you're insuring is in fact legitimate? And so the validation process in that model makes a ton of sense. It could actually be the missing piece, for an insurer to say, I might actually underwrite something. And you think, well, if it's a $500 NFT insurance, that doesn't make a lot of sense. You're right. But if it's a $5,000 or $50,000 or a $500,000 NFT, they're happy to insure your Lamborghini for $350,000. They'd be equally happy to insure your CryptoPunk NFT for $350,000. So those sorts of things that are outside the traditional NFT space start to avail themselves when people understand the rigor and the thoroughness that we put into the validation process. Law firms could look at us and say, well, your package of proof, we've talked about this before as a company. Our package of proof basically was devised with a top law firm. And the idea was, if you needed it, it has probably about 80% of what a copyright lawyer would prepare if there was a copyright dispute down the road. Now, a copyright lawyer probably makes between, $500 and $700 an hour. But for the price of 1 hour of a copyright lawyer, you can basically get a package of proof done and a responsibly minted NFT through the validation process. You've got all of that in your back pocket. So if you ever do get into a copyright dispute, you've already got all of that material ready to go. We've talked to some law firms, and we're still talking to some law firms about the idea of, well, why wouldn't you just outsource that due diligence stage to us as a company if it's about something in the creative space? And, to be honest with you, when you think about the math, it's pretty compelling to have all of that work done, have a thorough validation, have an affidavit, have photographic evidence if it's a picture, have, high-tech tools, software tools used, lots of robust validation, lots of thoroughness there. And you can have that presented back to you as a law firm in a handful of days for a fraction of the cost it would take you as a law firm to do that work. So you can see where some of this stuff lends itself to some really interesting business opportunities that aren't necessarily in the NFT space proper, but they certainly have application in the broader creative market. And that's the kind of stuff we're also exploring right now, which is still early days, but certainly looks interesting from what we're hearing from people in that space.
Kirk, do you want to take the question on Venusverse, or do you want me to?
Yeah, why don't you talk about that, Joe? You've been working closer with it than I have.
So the Venusverse collection and project was a really simple decision to join arms around this. Venusverse itself is a organization that is committed to educating and supporting women in the Web3 space, at an area in Canada that's particularly underrepresented. Less than 5% of people in the Web3 world are women. It also was a chance to work with a young artist who, again, was able to bring together some digital art through a derivative process that reflected the many flavors and colors of women around the world. So great mission, very focused, lots of collaboration opportunity, not just in the collection itself, but on the education side, where we will both work together to educate in the community college and university sector around Web3. Kirk was at an AMA at a local museum with the Venusverse team, and we'll continue to spread that. So again, it was close to home, lots of commonality as far as same lawyers, blah, 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 but more importantly, a very focused project that really wanted to do the right thing from a social messaging perspective. So that's why we went with them. It was an opportunity for us, a little bit self-reflecting. It gave us a chance to really see if we could do a 2,000 NFT collection and test our theories on, using traits versus individual NFTs. And we were able to validate that collection far quicker than anyone thought we could, at a level that we're very happy with, and we believe stands up to our emblem and our commitment to fully validated NFT.
Yeah, and as Joe mentioned, I mean, they're a KW-based, Kitchener-Waterloo-based organization, just like we are. So great to have people in our backyard and try to support people that are coming up with really cool projects like this in our backyard. We feel strongly that this isn't a one and done collaboration. There's a lot of work that they're doing in this space that I think will lend itself to asking us to do more work with them down the road and to be able to collaborate with them on other things. We feel very strongly about the mission they have, and we're supporting it to the fullest extent we can as a company, as a partner. And I mean, I bought my Venusverse NFTs yesterday. I certainly encourage anyone on the call here to do the same. It's a great collection, and I think it's going to do amazing stuff. And as Joe said, the underlying mission of the organization is super impressive. In fact, we may even have some Venusverse NFTs available for draw, or pay attention to Twitter and you'll see. Would like to talk a little bit about validation as a service. We rolled out a news release this week, actually, I think it was on Monday, talking about that availability as a service. And what does that mean? Well, it's one thing to build a patented platform, and a whole process around validation, and then have individual artists come to us and say, I'd like to validate an NFT, or I'd like to validate a collection. That's great. That's what we do. That's what we're good at. But there's lots of intermediaries out there that also have relationships with creators. And if we're truly trying to help scale our business and grow our business quickly, and let as many creators out there avail themselves of the validation services and the copyright claim staking processes that we have to collaborate with other platforms, other intermediaries. And intermediaries could be an NFT marketplace. It could be a society or an association that has as its membership creators at the core. And the idea being that we want as many of them to, take advantage of the smart tech that we built and the capabilities we've got, and integrate that into any offerings they're putting in front of their creator client base. And I think that's really what the essence of the validation as a service is designed to do. Just like software as a service, you can consume that. We would encourage people to consume our validation as a service. We're not in competition with these organizations. We see our mandate supporting the broader mandates that they have. And so that's a new initiative that we've publicized, and we're letting folks know about that. That's also a way for us to get our reach out to a broader community of creators throughout the globe. Okay. I think I just answered a question that folks asked about validation as a service. The other sub question to that was, what's the market response been so far? I'd say, so far it's been muted. We've had a few people contact us about it, and we're just in the early throes of conversations with people about it. I will say when we issued the press release globally about that, the news service that we use called me and said, I don't know what this stuff is that you guys do, but we've had an unprecedented open rate by the business editors around the world looking at this, to the point where about a quarter of them read the actual press release, which if anyone understands press releases and PR, that's a massive open rate. It's usually, you're pretty happy if you get to 10%. So I think what it speaks to is the fact that there's been a lot of coverage about fraud in the NFT marketplace. And I think it speaks to the fact that we're one of the first, if not the first organization that's put something out there to say we have a concrete solution to help mitigate fraud. And so I do think we will see more uptake as we get more of the news out there. And that's certainly something that this AMA is designed to do. But it's also important for our community and the token holders that work with us and have our tokens to also share that news release and let people know there's a solution here. You just simply have to reach out to UREEQA and talk to them about it. It's a lot faster than building it yourself, because we know it's taken us a year of focused attention to get to this robust, thorough validation process. And if anyone wanted to tackle this on their own, it would probably take them that long. So we can expedite their process and expedite their effort to mitigate fraud if they simply want to license and integrate our solution into theirs. Do you think UREEQA could function for copyright a bit like BlockPass does for KYC? Joe, you're more familiar with BlockPass than I am. Maybe you want to tackle that guy. Oh, you're on mute.
I'm off mute. Sorry about that. Yeah, so BlockPass, we did use them for KYC. We're actually moving from that platform over to a new one called Actuant, which has a more robust set of files that they use for the KYC process. We absolutely do believe we can operate as a copyright organization. That is one of the pillars that we've built out. And it is part of our core competency is where we're going on this thing. We have, and again, I can't say, we're under NDA, but we have multiple threads of where we're using our copyright capability with, and Kirk touched on it earlier, it can be, copyright in countries that don't have a formal copyright process. And, artists and creators have nowhere to go. I mean, it's as basic in some countries as take a picture of this, put it in an envelope, send it to yourself, and don't open it. Because then when you got to go to court, the court can open that envelope and they'll know that you did this on this date stamp. So we have targeted a number of countries that we will work with to give them a much more robust process using the blockchain and the immutable capabilities within there to give a reasonably priced option for those countries emerging. We are dealing with a country right now who's a strong influencer in the African continent, and we will, we'll continue to work with them around copyrights and land registry. So, absolutely, that's one of our thrusts in 2022 and moving forward.
Question posed here about our marketing plans or any new partnerships with recognizable artists. The short answer is yeah. We've got some really cool stuff up our sleeves. I'm not going to steal steal Scott's thunder, but he's working on some really interesting stuff. Some bands that you will know the name of when they hit the marketplace because they're going to be huge, and some interesting acts that are also emerging acts that we love the emerging artist angle because quite frankly, these are the people that benefit the most from our support. They're the ones we really want to make into tomorrow's stars through our efforts and our support. You know, a big part of what we're about as a company is to give those people a level playing field and help them benefit from all of our expertise and our capabilities. So we definitely have that as our focal point, but there are also some new acts coming down the pike that are going to be a little more household names, I think, by the end of the summer than the average place or the average act that we work with. We also have some interesting opportunities in the validation space coming down the pike that I think will be interesting in the sense that, you know, it starts taking us a step closer to metaverse application, metaverse tools, metaverse capabilities. And I know the metaverse is a while out, but I have had conversations with movie producers, for example, that have told me they're already being asked today in their discussions when they go to South by Southwest or Sundance or, you know, Cannes, they get asked, you know, can I get the distribution rights to this film that you're bringing here for the metaverse? They're trying to figure out how they answer that. Which metaverse? What are you talking about? There are theaters in the metaverse. So this is the kind of stuff people, and now they're asking us, well, if I validate with you guys, you're going to be able to, you know, protect me in the metaverse. And so we're very quickly getting pulled into that. And I don't think we honestly thought it was going to happen this year. We thought it would be something that would be a little bit further out, but we're being asked more and more about applications in the metaverse today. So we're starting to think about how you take what we do today in the real world, port it over to NFTs, and then, you know, one step further into the metaverse. So that's also where I think we're going to see a little bit more activity on the partnership front. And we should have some news about that in the coming month or so.
Just expanding on that, on the whole metaverse. I mean, I'm lucky I get to have conversations with some of these emerging organizations. We've targeted a couple who are looking to build the next generation metaverse, which is fun because they've learned from others and they have, you know, they have a foundational view. And then it's kind of fun from our side because we get them, let them start to think about the art of the possible. So we're in the music business with UREEQA. How cool would it be to have a Friday night jam session with one of our artists in the metaverse, and people can invite it, they can go there. We have a number of obviously pieces of art that we're working with collections. Have an art display once a month in an art gallery. I mean, when we talk to the metaverse, we're looking for some whitelisted spots. We want to be able to say, okay, hey, we want to have an art gallery. We want to have a couple smoking lounges, one for country, one for pop, whatever, right? So it's an amazing thing. And you're talking to a guy who still has to feel that ground under his feet to understand, you know, I bought ground, but I'm starting to figure it out. And it's an amazing concept, and it will, you know, it's getting legs. So it is fun.
Tor's asked, are there plans to open up anyone to get their own package of proof? I'm not sure if I understand the level of questioning, but my sense is if you wanted a package of proof today and you went through the validation process as an artist or a creator, you could absolutely get that today. That's not a problem. Yep.
So I think I kind of get that. So yeah, we've been holding back on doing individual validations. We will open that up this year as we move along here. Understanding, you know, that it's a scaling situation, but absolutely, if someone feels firm and they're committed and they want to do that validation step, we will figure that out for creators.
How does UREEQA feel about wrapping URQA into different blockchains, NFTs as a way to prepay for validation work? I dig it. I think it's a cool idea.
Right on.
If somebody wants to do that with us and collaborate with us on that, we're open for business, open for that conversation. I see the upside of that. I see the value of that. Now, we know our token isn't where we want it to be. And just to be absolutely clear, we all hold tokens, all of us here. We all want the token to be worth more. That's not ambiguous. That's absolutely 100% the truth. So anything we can do to help that happen, we're open for that. And so that's about as straightforward as I can be. One of the other areas that we get asked about, so I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room, is a bigger exchange, a central exchange. The reality is we've been looking at this for a long time. The rules about getting into an exchange are different by exchange. Some of them cost a bucket load of money to get into, and we just aren't in the situation today where we can explore some of the bigger ones that I think are household names. Because they're household names, they can command a serious amount of investment upfront before you can go there. That said, to his credit, Marco, our strategist in the crypto area, has been looking under every rock, and he's identified a handful that I think make sense for us. And we're actively looking at those right now, just trying to understand exactly what it's going to take for us to be successful and to make sure that we've got the financial means to execute these and have all of our ducks in a row to make sure we make the most of it when we do introduce something new like that. So we've done some interesting work to have multi-chain capabilities in the last 6 months. Had to get that out of the way and make sure that we tested that and that executed that, and that's been done. So now the next obvious place to sort of look is those centralized exchanges. And so we've been doing a lot of work in investigating the various ones out there. We do get contacted pretty regularly by exchanges, but then sort of look one level into the details and you realize it's financially prohibitive in some cases for us to consider some of the bigger ones for sure. But we're very aware of the fact that we need to do that, and we probably talk about it every couple of weeks, every week, just because it is an area of focus that we have right now.
Yeah, it's a progression, right? So we will look at some intermediate level exchanges. We are actually, I have one to take to the board next week, and we'll talk about that and the plus and minuses of it. It is achievable in the short term. Next 6 to 8 weeks, I think we'll be in a position where we can actually action in that space. And again, that all hinges on some of the other work that Kirk is doing. The other issue that came up, some of you are aware of, we're gonna launch a BK set of NFTs and artwork, and BK has been a great partner for us, a very early on adapter of NFTs and selling his NFTs, and had great success in his first offering through us. We ran into a bit of a struggle with one of the marketplace we had landed on to launch on. Again, it's a decision that we make with the artist. Somewhere he's familiar, knows the crowd that runs on that place. So we've had to pivot, and we're very close to we're getting ready to launch. We've got final NFT work being completed on DSpace, which is where the next launch will be of the BK work. So that's news. We've been very tight to the chest on it, but we are in a position now where we're under contract. We've got it figured out, and we're excited. There will be good collaborative marketing between us, DSpace, and BK, and it will be successful. Some of you, when in the community, have had a chance to work with what that launch looks like and what it will do. Stay tuned. Just another sneak peek in the next little bit. There will be an opportunity for all token holders to maybe participate in that. Now it's a limited group, but there will be an announcement where you can jump in and participate. And again, great utility, good return, we believe, and little slow to launch because we had an issue with the marketplace, and honestly, the market has been a bit of a roller coaster right now. And we just, we have to give guidance to our artists when it's the right time. And we're close. So stay tuned for that. Those are things that Shannon will be getting out there in front of everybody, and Marlies as well.
In terms of other cool things coming down the pike, I'm sure we've talked about this, certainly in Telegram and various channels, but the good folks at La Flor Dominicana are releasing a new, well, basically giving people a chance to buy an NFT, which gives them access to this premium cigar that they're producing. It was the 2016 Cigar of the Year. And apparently it's the best kept secret out there. La Flor Dominicana is one of the top cigar companies in the world. And if you can get your hands on one of these things, apparently it's quite a big deal. They haven't sold these in retail, so it's kind of very closely held cigar. If you're a cigar smoker, this is a really cool NFT. And the model is basically buy one of these and you get access to a monthly supply. So that's a really interesting thing. And for those of you who think, well, wait a second, I thought you guys were all about supporting creators. The people that produce these cigars see themselves as creators of a very fine, world-class cigar, as evidenced by being named Cigar of the Year. There's a lot of premium product companies doing this now. Macallan, Hennessy, all of the high-end fashion brands are doing this. They're releasing NFTs, and the NFT provides you, as part of the utility, access to a special edition or a special product or a special creation that they've come up with. And so, for us as a company, that's also an interesting new first premium product creation that we're supporting and backing and being involved with. And as you can imagine, there's only going to be, I think, 7 of these NFTs issued. So it's super important for them as a company to protect their brand and make sure everyone that buys one of these is getting a legitimate, authentic NFT from La Flor Dominicana, verified by UREEQA. It starts to speak to where we as a company are going to be playing more and more. And I think it's really a great illustration of a world-class brand like La Flor Dominicana and ourselves working together, helping us establish really the underlying value of what we do.
Okay.
I don't see any other questions, but I was going to just put one more small plug in for our friends at Venus Verse. There is a launch event happening at the museum here in Kitchener, if you happen to be in the area, in May. And so I'd ask you to stay tuned to our social media channels about that. Could be a very interesting launch, but also they're going to, even more importantly, have an exhibition in the museum here in May. And that'll all kick off with that launch event. And then you can go and actually see the Venus Verse NFTs in a bricks and mortar museum, which is also interesting because it's starting to indicate how museums are going to start wrapping their arms around things like NFTs. We also spoke, as Joe mentioned, I was at a conference that was all the people in the room were museum operators and curators. And there's another museum that we spoke to at that event that's trying to build an exhibit in their facility expressly for digital creations. So it's really interesting to see the cultural institutions start to embrace NFTs as art, as a commentary on art being available to the people. And they're starting to curate collections like this and showcase these things to people in the community, which is awesome. It's really cool. This is another area that I do think very quickly will take on some gravitas and will start to, again, benefit from our validation, both in the real world and also in the metaverse. Next week, I'm talking to a gentleman whose sole business is about taking art from other museums, digitizing it, validating it, and then leasing it to other museums so they can get a digital version in a high resolution frame and basically present that art as part of a collection. I think you're going to start to see that be a thing more and more, because we're all not going to jump on a plane and go to France and go to the Louvre and watch, look at the Mona Lisa, which is a terrible experience, by the way. But if you could, lease it and put it in a museum that's close to home, that might be a better experience. And at some point, you could see somebody in a virtual museum in a metaverse doing something comparable to that. There are museums leasing out high resolution versions of the art they have today to other institutions. So that's starting. And again, I think UREEQA could play a role validating the legitimacy of that, but it also validates the commercial agreement between the two institutions. And it tells the visitor, yeah, the home museum is going to get compensated for this to the tune of 50% of the ticket price or something like that. So it gives the patron a degree of confidence that this is a legitimate piece of art. It's not a fraudulent piece that you're looking at.
Question: how we adapted since Rakan left the team? It was a sad day when Rakan left. He went back to an offer he couldn't refuse. So what we've done is we do have other BD people, Rich Atkins and Chris Lehman, who have been out pounding the doorways and getting on the thing. Kirk and I probably do BD as much every day as anything else, and we'll continue to do that. Stay tuned, because in the next little bit on our socials, you're going to see a job posting, and we may be looking for someone else to join the team as we continue to grow. We have a very aggressive budget, both revenue and cost, over the next 12 months. And we're going to need some people to help. So I hint, I actually saw, I'm hoping today I'll see the last version of what that sort of posting will look like. And we'll get it over to Kirk and we'll talk about it and see, are we ready to roll on this? So that's how we've adopted. Rack was a big piece. He's a really good representative of UREEQA, high energy, likes the space, and a really strong relation manager. So we're working to fill it. We're not, you don't fill Rack, you fill pieces of him with different people, and we'll move forward.
Yeah.
What's happening with the UGC so far? So we have started to roll it. We have monthly meetings now with the UGC. That we had our first one this month, actually. And we'll let the UGC members express their thoughts, and we share ours. It's a very transparent meeting. I can tell you that it's not a meeting where we go in and accept every recommendation, but I absolutely have had good, open, constructive conversation in that space. There are some things that are happening. There is, I mentioned earlier, the BK the artist opportunity. They were allowed in on that now. And then we'll open it up any extra spaces we have. One of the things that, they're anxious about and they often push us on, and then all good things to push, it's just a matter of timing. But, we will start to, respond to some of the opportunities they're looking for, and things that will push the token, which is a prime requirement or issue with the UGC members. They're heavily invested in the token, and they are they're not singularly focused. There's a good balance in the group that understand that it can't be just the token price, but they're very good at coming up with ideas on token utility, things that we can do. And we get into the conversation, are they perks or the utility? I don't separate. I think that if you get something out of the mix as being a UGC member, that is utility to you as a token holder. So that's what we're doing so far. We'll continue to do our monthly meetings and move it up, and then you'll start to see some tumble down the tiers of our organization that as far as token holder tiers.
Don't see any other questions right now. Barring that, wondering, folks have taken a look at our our recent announcements and the stories that we put in Medium, we're starting to talk a little bit more about marketing. The marketing side is still a work in progress. We have to do some improvement there. We brought in 2 firms, one to work exclusively on the music side of things and another to work on the overall brand of the company. And that work has just started, but we'll have that done probably by the end of June. And so you will see a new look and feel applied to the website, and you'll see more content on the website. You'll see us leverage more graphics, more videos, more visuals for sure. We're starting to really get our head around the story and want to tell the story in a more effective way. But you'll also start to see us really make conscious efforts to help people understand what it is we're about as a company and where we're putting our areas of focus. So it won't be kind of this broad brush approach. It'll be much more narrow, and you'll start to see a lot more content about the areas that we work in. Good illustration is, we're a creator-focused organization. We need to feature the stories of the creators that we work with. And so you'll start to see that make its way through our marketing, keeping in mind we're a year-old company and we don't have 100,000 clients. We're working on it. But the people we do work with and have had amazing success so far, we definitely want to make sure that their story is told. We want people to understand, why we're working with them, why they work with us. And so you'll start to see a little bit more in that regard coming from us. And that creator message is far stronger coming from actual creators than it is just from us as a company.
Okay.
Great. Well, if I don't see any more questions pop up, I'm not sure, Joe, if there's anything else you wanted to touch upon.
No, I just want to let everybody know that the team is working hard to improve the company, working to create a strong platform for creators, regardless of ilk. And we will continue to do that. We are growing. There is a posting out there now for an intermediate developer, and we will continue to grow as we scale the business. So thank you for your support, because I know I can't separate token from the business, and that's maybe it's the problem I have, but it is true. I think that there's no one bullet to do both. And we have built in 1 year a fantastic foundation for the business of supporting creators. Okay, I'm good.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Joe, and thank you everyone for tuning in. As Joe said, we can't do this without your support and your interaction and your great ideas. Certainly helps us understand what's going on outside the bowels of the company here, and to hear those perspectives is always welcome. We're consciously all working very hard to make 2023 an amazing year. We're very confident that it will be an amazing year based on the early results, and certainly as we continue to make progress and demonstrate that product market fit that I talked about earlier, you'll be the first to know about that. We'll be making a conscious effort to keep everyone abreast of those cool developments. So thank you.
Okay, everybody. Peace out. Thanks a lot. Ciao.